April 1982. I'll never forget one of the greatest leadership lessons I've ever learned. I had just arrived at San Antonio Airport with instructions to board this big blue World War II retro-looking school bus with an Air Force insignia on the side. The bus would take us, a group of us actually, to Lackland Air Force Base where we would begin our Air Force careers. When we got there, we shuffled off the bus, and that's when the nightmare began. We were greeted by a drill sergeant who had sharply pressed fatigues. He had these spit-shine boots and a Smokey the Bear rimmed hat. He started barking and shouting orders at us. He said, "Get in line, get in formation, you sissies. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to grow you up. Now, tomorrow, we're going to pick squad leaders to manage 4 groups of you people. It's too late tonight to get you a new wardrobe because base exchange is closed. We're going to do that first thing tomorrow morning." So then what we did is we ended up going over to the barracks. Now the barracks was this large airplane hangar looking building that had virtually nothing on the inside except about 30 bunks that lined each of the walls with a wide walkway. In between each of the bunks was a locker for each of us to put our personal belongings. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of personal belongings, and I think you should know why. You see, my friends thought that they would do me a favor. Before I left for the airport, my friend said to me, "Kevin, now wear the worst, rattiest clothes you have because they're going to give you a brand new wardrobe and they're going to basically burn what you bring with you or throw it away. So don't bring anything you care about." Being the young and gullible person that I was, I believed him. So I wore the worst pair of tennis shoes I could find in the back of my garage. Oh, they were bad. They had holes everywhere. In fact, I could wiggle my toes and I could see them. I wore some jeans that even Goodwill wouldn't take back. There was oil stains on them. They were frayed and they had holes in the knees. And this is a long time before you actually paid to have holes in the knees. The shirt that I wore was absolutely horrific. It not only smelled, it had grease stains on it, it had pitted armpits. Imagine sitting next to me all the way to San Antonio. That was it. 3 garments. I traveled light. I remembered earlier when the drill sergeant said that he was going to pick squad leaders. So I started thinking to myself, this might be a good opportunity. There's probably some more responsibilities that come with that, but I'll bet there's some good benefits. So I mustered up the courage and I walked right over to the sergeant's office and knocked on the door. When he let me in, I walked right up to his desk all proud and ready to volunteer, and I said, "Sir, Airman McCarthy would like to volunteer to be your squad leader." He looked. "McCarthy, nobody volunteers to be a squad leader. What are you thinking? Get out of my office." "Yes, sir." The nightmare continued. Going to bed right about now seemed like a good refuge. Well, we all got in bed, lights went out, but just before the lights went out, we were given instructions from the drill sergeant one more time. He said, "Listen, lights are going out in a few minutes." He said, "And they're coming on at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and when those lights come on, you sissies had better be out of bed. Do not make me come down and wake you up." Okay. I took my 3 garments, I put them in my locker. I got into bed, lights went out. 5 o'clock the next morning came suddenly and swiftly, and it sounded like the end of the world. Somebody was beating on the end of somebody's bed with a baton. It was the drill sergeant screaming and shouting, "Get up, get up, get up!" The lights went on, and everybody in the buildings just jumped to their feet like cockroaches when the lights come on in the room. I sprung to my feet, I got to the end of my bunk, and I stood at attention just like we were trained. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm the only one. Stark naked. Oh, how I wish I could have activated my Klingon cloak of invisibility, hoping that the drill sergeant would just pass on by. But he didn't. He stopped right at me. He put his Smokey the Bear hat right down on my forehead, and he said, holding back a smirk, "McCarthy, what were you thinking?" I did the only thing a young, gullible teenager could think to do at the moment. I saluted! Yes, it's a true story. And it was one of the most humiliating experiences of my entire life. But it was also one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, because I figured this. I learned that there are 3 things you absolutely must do if you want to be a leader. 1, you must have courage in the face of all kinds of terror. 2, you need to look for the opportunities. I knocked on the door. And 3, you need to stand at attention, stark naked, and salute.